Okay, so this one is more or less taking the sprites and then creating the menu. So creating menus is part of the UI system. So I have to click over into the scene. I'm just doing a sample scene. You can create your own. You'll probably have created your own. Next there's all these game components, the various pieces you can add. And what we're looking for is game object, UI, and the main one, in order to have a menu, everything has to go in a canvas. So if I select canvas here, it creates a canvas and an event system. And what that does is it allows it to organize all the clicks and the events and the things that happen for working with the menu. The event system is to handle the events going on in the canvas. We won't really interact with that, but the canvas is where things are going to happen. And we also want to look at the screen a little bit and figure out where things are. So some places actually the canvas, we can hit F for follow. It looks like that it's on its side. I can try to zoom in. There we go. So the canvas is also in relationship to the game. Right now it's a wide display. So, and I go to game, you won't see anything because it renders as nothing right now. But this is the canvas. Everything's going to go in here. Enable, disable through the tag. You can make it go away, show up. And again, we're going to leave this all default for the moment. So next is we have to put things in our canvas, and those are called panels. So I'll go back to game object UI, and I'm going to select a panel. So got my first panel, and it's empty. We want to put stuff in the panel. So over here is panel. You can name them. They can auto name. I'm just going to use the auto name at the moment. And we have a background source image. And this is the deal, is that we want to bring our images into the backgrounds so that they show. So let's go back into graphics. We'll open up the sprites. We can see all the sprites are here, but we do have to get back to our panel, and we have to drag, say, the first thing in place. And where it goes background, and now our background is here. But you'll see a few things. It's backwards, it's transparent, and its scale is off. So let's fix all of those things. So there's a color, so I could just grab colors and say, oh yeah, let's make it some kind of crazy purple or pink or anything you want. You can make it a color. But I think we need to go back to the sort of the white color here, and then I also want to bring up the opacity, right? So you can't see through it. And then if I kind of look in real close on the side, I don't know if the zoom in actually zooms properly for this, but I'm trying it, is that we've got preserve aspect ratio. I think if I click that, it now preserves the aspect ratio of the part. I'm going to zoom back out. So now it's back to card size. So preserving that aspect ratio is really good. But now we can kind of see, we're looking at this whole thing backwards. So there we go. So now we can see that there's a logo and a start. Okay, so let's see. The next way is in order to do this quickly, you can just cut and paste a bunch of panels, and then they're going to auto number.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll hit here. I'm going to hit Command C, and I paste. And how many do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need 5. There we go. So now you have a whole mess of panels. They all have the same background on them. So I'm just going to panel 2, and I'm going to just say these are all in order. I'm going to drop that one in, and I'm going to make the next one. Let's see, the third one goes.
Yeah, just an important thing to keep in mind is the hierarchy starts from the bottom and then goes to the top. So you want your first panel to be down there and then work
okay,
backwards.
I totally make this mistake every time. So I was doing something before I switch them, I want to drop them, just because I can't remember one thing to the next.
Right.
All right, so this one's the third, which is actually the fourth. Yep. And then here's the fourth one, which could be that one.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And then the final one is here. And this way, right now, all of the pictures are there. So this is actually really good for us, as we can figure that out. Now, when I drew the rectangles, they aren't all perfect. So when I'm looking at the screen in the middle, not everything lines up perfectly perfect. That's all right. But, okay, so now we got is the last one sits on top, and we want the first one in the first place and all of that. So now this is that part where, using the system, we can actually change how they appear by dragging. So I'm going to move the first panel to the first place, and you see it popped over. And I got to move the second panel there. And I just have to reverse the order on all of this. And this is a common one. You drag it so it lands inside. So hierarchy matters. You can put things inside of things. And so what I want is I want the panel to be here. I want panel 1 to be in between. 0, 1, 2. Then 3 will go there. 4 will go there. And finally, now they're all in the right spot. And what does that mean? Well, it's really important to take a peek. So the first one is showing, and I want to actually deactivate the panel so I can see the under one. So I deactivate, activate. And that actually allows us to sort of see what the heck's going on. And this is actually how the panel system works, is that if we were in panel, this one, it's active. So I could select all of the panels and then deactivate them by clicking here, and they're all gone, right? So then I can come back to the main panel and I can turn it on, turn it off, and then I can go to the next panel and I can turn it on and I can turn it off. So these are all, you know, quick ways that you can modify things so that you can see what's happening. And what we're going to do programmatically is we're going to sort of show one, then show the other, hide the bunch, and move back and forth. Okay, but there's a couple of things we need to do. So first, looking at our first screen here, I want to zoom in more. Zoom. Is that there's a logo. So if you wanted to put a logo in, you'd actually drag a new graphic in, and then you could drag that on, or you can drag a new sprite sheet, select the area that's the logo, and then bring the logo in. But then what I want to do is make a start button. Right. Because we want to start the game somehow. So the start button doesn't have its box yet. So we're going to edit the sprite sheet. So go back, click on the object that has the sprite sheet, click sprite editor, we're going to go back to it, and we're going to be like, oh yeah, that thing that's, and zoom on Mac is pull for some reason. And we need to go find where we have a button, and there's our start button. Now, one of the things is you can see it's highlighted the box. It's going to make me move the box. So what I'm going to need to do is make a starter box and bring it over. And for this to work, it looks like I need to make it a little larger this way, a little larger that way. And then I can kind of tighten it up to the edges. And now that is the Burn Storyboard 6. So I need to apply that change, apply. And if we go back in here, you'll see, oh, hey, look at that. I've got a thing that's marked out to be a button. So it's not a button yet, but it's marked out to be one. So you first put all your panels in place, and then you go and start making your buttons. And the buttons will start helping click things through. You can also click on a panel too, but button-wise, let's make sure you use buttons to do this. All right, so we've got start here, and I have a start here. I want that to be there. So I need to go and think about the game object, the user interface, and then we need to go to button. And the interesting part is this is an image button, so I'm not going to be putting text in. So we're just going to grab a button. So here's a button, it's called button. And select it, and I'll drag it. And I want it to be where that button is, where our start is. And I want it to have our graphic. Well, one thing about this in the hierarchy is it's got text. Well, we're not going to use the text, so we're actually going to delete that out. So there it goes. Here's your button. So next up is I've got a sprite for button, and I want to use it. So I should be able to go to my sprite. Right. So, okay, so there's probably some fancier way to do that. Oh, two things. I'm making a button, but it's in its own space. I want to put the button in the panel. There it goes. So the button is in the panel now. I got the start, but now I need to take it and say, oh, hey, give me my sprite. That's under source image. It's the sprite, and now there it is. So the button has that, and I can move it around. It's a little squashed. So I don't know if there's a preserve aspect. Let's do preserve aspect. And so now it's a teeny button, but we need to make it bigger, and I'm going to try to cover it. So it's W-E-R. So R is the scaling one. So if I grab the center box and drag out, it'll make our button bigger. And there it is. I made a larger button. Okay, so I click. You can inspect the button and see under inspector, button. You can also name them, different things. But anyway, we got our sprite in place, but we have a button script now. And the button script is where like the action happens. So let's see. Okay, this one I always like don't always remember properly. So let's see. I need to create basically on-click actions, right? So on-click over here is like click, and then it gives you some options. It says the list is empty. We want at least 2 in this space.
Right. So you would click the 2 plus buttons on the bottom, or
plus, and then
click
plus.
it twice. So what you want to do is you want to turn the first panel off and create a new panel, which is why you would need 2 objects. So you want to drag the first panel into there.
Okay.
And then where it says no function, go to game object, set active. And then you can leave it like that.
Okay.
So that'll basically turn off that panel.
And then if we wanted it to go immediately to the next panel, that would be panel 1, and we'd want it to make panel 1 active.
Yeah, so you'd have to click back into the button.
Go back to the button, and then we need to scroll up to see this area. Okay, so I want to add it to here.
Yeah, so just
click drag.
Click drag.
Okay, and this one is going to be go back to game object. Zoom a little bit more, set active. This one's a true, so right, we put the checkbox in.
Yes.
Boop. All right, good. All right, checkbox in, checkbox off. So now, actually, this is the good news. There's a couple details we'll catch later, but basically now we should be able to switch pages. So the important part is be able to hit play, and play will start exactly where we are right now with whatever state we just created. And you can see it can hover over it, see a little bit of change, hit start, and now it moved us to the camera space. So that's how you get a button going and you transition a panel. So the goal is to do the storyboarding, so you would do this technique like over and over again. So you would, in this case, you'd say, oh, well, this is going to be a menu thing and it's going to go to a new page. So you would think about, okay, I need to make a new sprite for the little hamburger button, and then I want that one to take me off the camera but over to maybe some settings. So I'd have to figure out, like, go back to your storyboard and look for, okay, we're here, that caused this one, we've got project settings and about, so that's going to actually be how you get to the next menu pieces, and then you can start using sprites and actually making these sub areas to start to do what you want. So it's like, here, start, go to camera, go to the progress button. From progress, you go into this, and you start dragging those out, sectioning the spaces, getting your sprites going. Once you have all your placeholders, you can start upgrading the art. So okay, so that's the quick version of menu. There's more to do here, and we'll get you another video for that as needed.